You ever see a grown woman lose her mind so completely you almost feel bad for her, almost? That's exactly what happened the day our HOA president decided to call 911 on my wife just because she wouldn't answer the door. I'm not kidding. She stood in her front yard screaming into her phone, "She's a criminal. I know it," for the whole neighborhood to hear, finger shaking like she was conducting some kind of orchestra of chaos. I watched it all from the window, thinking, no way is this happening. But when the cops pulled up, blue lights dancing across our porch, and my wife finally stepped outside to face them, the look on Deborah's face, that's our lovely president, went from smug to pure pants-wetting terror. I swear I'll never forget it. I'll never forget. Now let me back up a sec. This all kicked off about 2 weeks after we moved into what was supposed to be our dream neighborhood. My wife Sarah had just landed a huge promotion, though she was being weirdly secretive about it. I remember her unpacking the kitchen, giving me that look. "Don't tell anyone what I do yet." "Okay. Just say, I'm in finance." I shrugged. Figured maybe new job nerves, you know. And man, if I'd known that little white lie would drag us into the craziest suburban circus of my life, I might have packed up right then. The first Saturday, I'm out front wrestling boxes when I spot this woman on the sidewalk, arms crossed, jaw set haircut that just screams manager's office. Deborah. She marches up, shoves a binder into my hands, 300 pages. No joke, says I'm Deborah, HOA president. Read every rule. I try to be nice, flipping pages about grass height and garage door colors, but she's eyeing me like I'm a criminal already. We take standards seriously, she warns, like she's about to issue a ticket. Then Tommy from next door rolls by on his bike. This little red-headed kid with no filter calls out, "Why are you always so angry, Mrs. Deborah?" I about lost it. Even Sarah, coming out with her office box, cracks a smile, but Deborah zeroes in on her. "And you are?" Deborah asks, tone sharper than attack. "Sarah, Michael's wife." My wife's cool as ever, but Deborah stares at her like she's seen her in a lineup. "What do you do for work?" she presses. "Finance. Boring stuff." Sarah lies without blinking. Deborah doesn't buy it, but Tommy saves the day by crashing into the mailbox. Sarah kneels to help him, and Deborah just stands there, face all scrunched up with suspicion. Later, Sarah laughs off the whole scene, tells me people like her always hang themselves with enough rope. I wanted to believe her. Except Deborah didn't hang herself. She started a campaign. Within days, the emails rolled in. Trees too tall by a millimeter, trash cans at the wrong angle, car parked an inch past the line. All CC'd to the HOA board, of course, as if she's building a federal case. I wanted to fire back, but Sarah kept saying, "Let her dig her own hole." Easier said than done. Deborah started patrolling past our house 3 times a day, slowing down to squint at our grass. Neighbors started warning us she once made a family repaint their fence 3 times because it wasn't Sahara beige. She got Mrs. Chen's dog rehomed for barking. And someone whispered that her own son had been arrested. Maybe that's why she acted like everyone with a secret was a threat. Then came Thursday, the day Deborah snapped. Sarah was on an important work call when Deborah started pounding our door like she had a warrant. She wouldn't stop 20 minutes of banging and peering in windows. Sarah ignored her, but Deborah wasn't done. The next evening, I come home to sirens, cops pulling up out front. My stomach dropped. I knew she'd finally done it. Sure enough, there's Deborah out front waving the police over, shouting, "That woman is dangerous. Arrest her." The cops looked more confused than concerned, but Deborah was on a mission. I watched from the window, sandwich, forgotten, as she tried to convince them that Sarah was some kind of criminal mastermind because she didn't answer the door. The officer Martinez tried to be polite, asking what the emergency was. "She won't talk to neighbors. She's hiding something," Deborah insisted. Martinez just stared at her, probably wondering what he'd done to deserve this beat. At that moment, Sarah comes out cool as a cucumber, just jeans and a blouse, but suddenly looking 10 feet tall. Martinez looked relieved. "Ma'am, I need to ask you some questions." Deborah interrupts. "She's hiding something. She's dangerous." Sarah barely glances at her, just keeps her eyes on the officer, then slowly reaches behind her back. Martinez tenses, ready to go for his own gun, but Sarah just pulls out, wait for it. A badge. Not just any badge, police chief. I'm not kidding, my own wife, who I thought was a numbers cruncher, turns out to be the new chief of police. The look on Deborah's face. Priceless. Martinez straightens up like he's meeting the president. Chief, I'm so sorry, ma'am. Deborah's mouth is hanging open, the color draining from her face. She tries to stammer something about it being fake, but Martinez is already taking Sarah's statement about the false 911 call and weeks of harassment. The neighbors gather Tommy's back with his friends, eyes huge. I told you. She was a cop. One of them shouts. Suddenly everyone's phones are out filming the whole thing. Deborah, realizing she's lost control, tries one last move. She waves her phone like it's a sword, threatens. I've got evidence. I'll ruin you. The mayor, the city council. Everyone will know. Sarah just gives her that look. The one that could freeze lava, and says, be very careful making threats in front of a police officer. Deborah still tries to play tough, claiming she's got some big secret from Sarah's past. But when Sarah challenges her to show the evidence, Deborah fumbles, can't produce anything, mumbles something about needing her lawyer. Officer Martinez steps up, tells Deborah she needs to come to the station for making a false report. Deborah shrieks about harassment, but nobody's on her side anymore. The neighbors start calling her out, airing every petty thing she's done over the years. The tide turned so fast, I almost felt bad for her. Almost. Sarah addresses the crowd, finally explaining that she's the new police chief and wants to work with the community, but won't tolerate abuse of the system. Folks actually clap. Deborah tries one more time. You haven't heard the last of this, but Sarah just smiles. Give the mayor my regards. We had dinner last week. Deborah gets escorted off, not cuffed, but definitely defeated. The days after, it's like the whole neighborhood changes. People apologize for not warning us sooner. Tommy becomes a local hero, and Sarah's suddenly respected or feared depending on who you ask. But it's not over. Deborah goes quiet, which is almost worse. Then comes the emergency HOA meeting. Deborah rallies her few allies, tries to smear Sarah with an old incident from another city, twisting facts, projecting headlines on a screen, getting half the room to vote for Sarah to resign. Sarah lets her finish. Then calmly stands, pulls out a letter from the mayor and attorney general, commending her for saving children from a meth lab explosion, the truth behind the controversy. Deborah's story unravels in real time right in front of everyone, and Sarah warns her that slander and inciting harassment against a public servant have consequences. Phones catch every second. Deborah is toast. Weeks pass, and the big moment comes at the neighborhood movie night. Deborah tries to slink in unnoticed, but Tommy, who's gone viral on YouTube with his detective skills, accidentally streams the confrontation video on the giant outdoor screen for hundreds to watch. Deborah's meltdown goes viral in real life and online. By the next morning, a for sale sign is up in her yard. Last we heard, she'd moved to Florida and was already making enemies down there. Tommy's channel blows up. Sarah settles into her role as chief, and I finally get why she kept it all quiet. But you know what? If there's anything this whole mess taught me, it's that karma works best when it's caught on camera. So if you're dealing with a neighborhood tyrant, document everything and don't be afraid to share your story. Who do you think was more out of line here, Deborah or the neighbors, for letting it go on so long? Drop your thoughts below. Let's hear where you stand on justice, privacy, and good old-fashioned community drama.